TLO, what's poppin'? We are on Twitch. We are live. But by the time you see this, we won't be. So just leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notification bells. Let's continue to grow the family from Chicago to the UK. Right behind me, you see it, little warning screen just in case. Probably will need this. Yeah. Don't forget, twitch.com is where you can catch the lives, previous lives, and future lives. Usernames at the bottom of the screen. And we also got Patreon, where we post 5 days per week. This is UK Gang Documentary 2021. Salford plus more. There we go. Talk to me now.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
True.
30 children in one British city living with the threat of murder.
When young kids are getting shot at 7 years of age, there's a lot of anger. Some people can't believe that's actually happened.
A generation growing up with gang violence and the promise of more bloodshed to come.
Lee walked up to go to the toilet and the coward shot him in the back. But the bullet went straight through his heart.
Grenades, machetes and machine guns on the streets.
We are talking about
This 2021, why is it's giving me early 2000 vibes?
a turf war, a war over territory, a war over disrespecting.
Welcome to Salford.
It's a cycle that can only be broke when there's enough bloodletting.
Tonight on Panorama, we speak to
Oh, this
those at the
Panorama.
heart of a gang war gripping the city.
Gangs are a part of life in Salford. Police don't control the streets.
And we ask, can the police ever beat the gangs?
I can answer that question. The answer is going to be no. They can get in the car with the gangs and drive side by side, and they can catch anything that falls out the car, but they will never get ahead. Not in our lifetime, at least. Gang, guns, and police.
Salford, Greater Manchester. Population 234,000. Organised crime groups 25. Shootings in 12 months 19. A man attacked with a machete here. A grenade thrown through the window of a house here.
Now that right there is something different. I don't think that's ever happened in Chicago. I think I would remember that.
And a man shot dead with a machine gun on the driveway of his home in broad daylight.
There probably isn't a weapon in the books that hasn't been used. Machetes, chainsaws, Uzi machine guns, firearms, you name it, they've used them all.
Patricia Erdman knows what it's like to live on the front line of one of Britain's bloodiest gang wars.
That picture was took Christmas. You know how close we was just by looking at it. He absolutely adored his children, absolutely adored them. And his family was, that was his life.
She says her son wasn't in a gang, but police sources say he fell out with a man who was.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he wasn't no angel. No, but he, if trouble come to him, he'd angle it.
In this CCTV footage, Lee has just hours to live. Later that night, he went to another pub, the Wellington. And in front of around 30 witnesses, he was murdered.
It's a reenactment.
Lee walked up to go to the toilet and the coward shot him in the back. But the bullet went straight through his heart. And he just fell to the floor. And then he went up to him and shot him in the chest again. And the bullet went through his chest and into the floor. And then he just stamped constantly all over his face.
And in no way you'll... Okay, respectfully, that is personal. That is very personal. The way that was carried out. And for him to just have just gotten into an altercation with somebody that was in a gang, that seems pretty gruesome.
After he'd shot Lee, well, he just threatened everybody in the pub.
The killer stole the CCTV footage, and not one person has been prepared to give evidence against him.
Since?
The police call it a wall of silence. Lee Erdman's murder in 2011 remains unsolved.
That's insane. A bar with 30 people in it. But you got to think about it. Bro came in there brazen. He did not care at all. So, and the people took note of that. Like, he doesn't care. So I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy. That's crazy.
And there's 30 people in that pub, mothers. How would they feel?
So do you know who killed Lee?
Yeah. Everybody in Salford know who killed Lee.
The police say, without more evidence, they can't prove it. And they've warned Patricia that her life's at risk for speaking out. She's already been forced to move house.
Salford's just gone really horrible since that happened to Lee. It's like the murder never really happened. And that's sad.
For the 5 minutes that I've been watching this, it's been some heavy stuff. But in the back of my mind, I keep hearing Salford Lad in Jordan's voice. I can't get it out of my head. Okay. I had to say that.
The impression will be that people are above the law, and despite everybody's best efforts and the years that have passed since that murder, nobody has been brought to justice, and clearly some individuals will feel that they can get away with murder.
We're on the Duchy estate in Salford, and this was the scene of several shootings. The traditional crime for Salford criminals was armed robbery. But over the years, that's got more difficult to do. So we see them moving into other areas such as extortion, protection rackets, and drug dealing.
Don Brown used to police Salford. He was a detective for more than 30 years. When he left the force, he ran a council project, Project Gulf, to crack down on organised crime.
In Salford, you have long-standing dynastic families who come together for a criminal enterprise. I was a detective sergeant here in 1983. We're still talking about the same families, the same names. So they've been around for decades and influencing communities in areas such as Duchy.
And no one had more influence than this man, Paul Massey.
Paul Massey.
He was filmed in the 1990s for a BBC documentary.
No, I could be shot dead any time. I've realised that for years, but
I remember him.
It's meant to happen, and that's the end of it. I'm prepared to face that. I picked the bastard who did it after. I got personal friends all over, and them personal friends wouldn't lie in bed at night if something happened to me.
Everybody thinks that, and then when you in the afterlife watching your homies chill and not spin for you, it's like, dang. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds there, that.
The programme was never broadcast because he stabbed a man while it was being filmed. He was sent to prison for 14 years.
It's like the police are busy down at the bottom.
Former armed robber Jason Coughlin, who was a member of Massey's firm, says there were two sides to him, even back then.
Paul Massey helped 10 more people than he ever hurt. That's a fact. You know what Paul did? I'll tell you straight. Paul Massey was able to knock on gangsters' doors and go, "Come here." He is in. He's not in. He is in. Get him downstairs. Paul, get him down. What are you doing? Letting shots off down there. Stop it. How can you not love him? I love him, and I will love Paul Massey till my dying day.
Okay, maybe that's real for him then. His storytelling ability is aggressive.
I don't buy it, and I don't think the vast majority of people buy Paul Massey or the Craze or any of these other violent, dangerous people are folk heroes. They're nasty villains who deserve to be in prison.
But such was his standing within the community. Paul Massey felt confident enough to ask Salford to elect him mayor of the city in 2012.
Yeah, I do remember, dude. 100%. I remember a documentary on him.
Because I was born and bred here. I want to help the elderly, I want to help the youth, and I want to try and reduce crime, and I want to try and help to reduce the problem with drugs in Salford as well. Yeah, but he's put across to us when we were younger about...
Paul
He think he Nico O'Million.
Massey said he hated heroin, and police intelligence sources say he tried to keep it off the streets. But he was investigated in the 90s for smuggling and dealing amphetamines. Even so, nearly 2,000 people voted for him. Were they looking to him to do what the police couldn't?
What was the documentary that we watched about him? Was it, I want to say it was Danny Dyer.
Keep the peace in Salford.
I have no doubt whatsoever that there are people who lack confidence in the police, and there are perhaps all sorts of reasons why that might be the case. My impression from those who work in intelligence with the police is that they're doing their best, but there is still this trust deficit.
While Paul Massey was taking advantage of that trust deficit, trying to make his name in politics, a new gang was beginning to make its name on the streets.
The A-Team suddenly emerged from nowhere as a group together and began to make inroads into the drug dealing in parts of Salford in quite a forceful way.
Panorama has spoken to a leading figure in Salford's gangs. He wouldn't be interviewed on camera, so this actor is speaking his words.
The A-Team is probably the most powerful gang ever up here. It's strong because of the numbers, and there's a massive amount of loyalty. There's power in numbers, and there's a massive, strong sense of loyalty.
But in July 2014, that loyalty was tested. The A-Team split into opposing factions and went to war. It all started with a row in this cafe. According to these police intelligence documents, the split was so bitter that one faction even hid tracking devices on the cars of their enemies so they could hunt them down. A woman had her car roof cut off by masked men using a chainsaw.
What? Trackers in the whip. Okay, I've heard of that. I've also heard about leaving your AirPods. Somebody leaves AirPods in there, then they find the location of their device. I've heard of that. Don't leave nothing with me. I'm throwing it away. Wherever you left it at, or wherever we was, is where I will leave it. Like, say if I go with a chick, because that's who they be using. Say if I go with a chick to go see a movie, and she try to leave her little, I drop her off or whatever, and she try to, and I get all the way almost home, and she try to leave her little anything in the car that's trackable. I'm going back to where the date was. I'm going back to the movie theaters and leaving it there. Yeah, I found these in y'all hallway. I ain't never speaking to her again. Don't play me like that, man.
None of those injured cooperated with the police, and all of them refused police protection. Graham Stringer has been an MP here since 1997 and believes the police have let the violence get out of control.
A number of acts of violence and murder have been carried out, and the culprits haven't been brought to justice. The police need to do more. They need to find those people who've committed the crimes, and they need to bring them to justice.
I am concerned about the level of violence that has been used in some of these incidents in general, because they often have played out in public. We have got a grip of this. We have a well-developed, well-resourced, well-thought-through and planned way to respond to the recent upsurge in violence.
No, you don't.
But getting on top of the situation
sounds amazing, but in real life, you don't.
Might be easier said than done. This footage shows Salford youths attacking CCTV towers with angle grinders.
Nobody has any respect or confidence in the police in Salford. The police don't control the street.
They was trying to cut it down. That happened on my block when I used to live in Chicago. The last block I lived on, I live on Drake and Ainsley. Look it up. It's called Drake Block. It's called Drake City, I mean. They shot at the police cameras. They shot it out. And then the police came and picked it up and put it back the next day.
As seen of late.
It's crazy.
Gangster turned politician Paul Massey wanted to stand for mayor again this year, but his political ambitions were cut short.
He'd called 999 himself, telling police he'd been shot, that he needed help. He died in his front garden.
Paul Massey, the man who'd predicted his own death, was murdered with a machine gun in a hit linked to the A-Team feud. Will you catch the person that did it, or will it become another unsolved murder in Salford?
Yes, it is challenging, but...
the answer is it'll become another unsolved murder.
I feel positive about the progress of that investigation.
7 months after his death, no one has been charged. His closest friends say there will be consequences.
There's a lot of people that are very unhappy the way it happened, and there's a lot of retribution that will take place. It's an obvious fact.
Death.
Could be.
Paul Ferris was once one of the UK's most notorious underworld figures.
Who did a documentary
A
on
convicted gun runner, he moved to Salford in the early 90s after being acquitted of a murder in Glasgow. Ferris, who became a close friend of Paul Massey's, now writes books about his criminal past.
This is me and Paul just embracing before his mum was laid to rest. Shows a bit of grief and a bit of respect. It's a never-ending cycle, and it's a cycle that can only be broke when there's enough bloodletting.
Surely street justice, more deaths, isn't the way to solve this?
In a civilised society, no. If there was enough respect there for law and order and the authorities, then you wouldn't need to be doing that in the first place, because that's their job. You know, people should have enough trust in the authorities to go to them and get them to deal with it.
What if the police find the person that did it?
If the police find the person who did it, they've got to survive prison. You know, there's a lot of friends of Paul's who are still in prison.
The general public have nothing to fear. Once street justice is served on the people who killed Paul Massey, then things in Salford will get back to normal. This will only end one way, and it won't end well for the people who killed Paul Massey.
actually spin about Paul, huh?
Panorama understands that there have already been repercussions, both in Spain and the UK. Since Paul Massey's killing, there have been 7 attempted murders in Salford, 6 involving guns. Even children have been caught in the crossfire. Gunmen targeted this house, looking for a man called Christian Hickey. When his wife Jane answered the door, they shot her and his 7-year-old son.
That's...
For me, it crossed a line where even for those people who do have a distrust of policing or haven't had a positive relationship with policing in the past, that is an incident where, for me, that line has been crossed. Come forward and tell us what you know about what has happened.
At Christmas, the boy asked Santa to help the police catch the men who hurt him.
That's deep. That's deep.
So far, the police have been unsuccessful.
The fact that you can shoot a child tells me that this is getting very serious, and these people are very much out of control.
When police believe someone's life is at risk, they have a duty to warn them. Officers hand over a letter, usually in person, and ask for it to be signed. Official figures obtained by Panorama reveal that 30 children in Salford live in households where a family member is at risk of being murdered or murdering someone. That's a whole classroom full of children. Does it sound...
It's amazing. I like the real contrast that I be feeling, like I be visualizing in my head when I listen to stuff like this. 30 kids who had lived with somebody who's either at risk of losing their life or committing the crime to take somebody's life. 30 is light. I mean, it should be 0, yes, but 30 is light. Considering like what I'm matching it up against in my mind. I know it's not the same, but that's what I do. I compare and contrast.
How did you that children are being dragged into this?
It always saddens me when children are dragged into it. It's not just children. Females, elderly people, non-combatants as we call them. But I think...
civilians.
The kind of hatred and disgust at what happened to Paul is underestimated, and this will go on for a number of years, I'd imagine.
The cycle of violence has led to police warning a large number of people in Salford that their lives are at risk. Last year, police say there were more than 100 threat to life warnings. In Sunderland, a similar-sized city, there were just 5.
Threats to life warnings are collected like birthday and Christmas cards in Salford. The police just hand them out. It's an everyday occurrence. It's not a big deal.
Greater Manchester Police say they've made roughly 107...
Who is this? What? The height disparity of this last person walking in is crazy. They're like 4'10". Where did they even find the equipment for him or her?
Greater Manchester...
Look at this. Just like an 11-year-old going in there.
Police say they've made roughly 170 arrests in the last 12 months in Salford, recovered 18 firearms and taken out 13 civil injunctions against people involved in organised crime. But the police know it'll take more than knocking down doors. They've commissioned research into organised criminal gangs in Salford. It found that many gang members start young and move quickly into serious violence.
What we saw from the research was...
That's how it go, man. Gangs are like sports teams when it comes to recruiting. They look for You gotta be young, and you gotta have the younger the better is what they say, right? Just like in the NBA, like if you coming out of college, if you 19 or 18 coming out of college compared to a 4-year veteran of college, 4-year, 5-year, the upside is that you're younger. They're gonna go with the younger.
There were families who seemed
it's a sad thing
to have parents and even grandparents that were involved in criminality. If you start to see violence at an early age, then you become more accepting of it, and then it's not a great leap to jump from there to understand why some of these individuals are more likely to be prepared to use violence as they become older and more involved in organised crime.
Nazir Afzal helped expose the Northwest's grooming scandal and believes young people who end up in criminal gangs are exploited in just the same way.
I've dealt with grooming for sex, I've dealt with grooming for ideology, and there's grooming for organised crime. And a lot of that happens. Young people enticed, they're manipulated.
And once they're in?
Once you're in, you're in. It takes enormous courage to step out. Because you either end up in Manchester Strangeways or a coffin.
It's just a fact of life. It's what happens. In this walk of life, in Manchester and Salford, a lot of your friends will get murdered, and there'll be long prison sentences. That's the reality of it.
Mick Hurley's research says the violence can mean that
the reality of it is no one wins. You're fighting a battle that cannot be won by any side, because there always will be death or jail sentences behind it all.
Some professionals,
you'll win battles, but inevitably no one will ever win,
who should be helping families, are too afraid to intervene, and the police can't do it alone.
I don't think we can arrest our way out of the problem. And there needs to be a role that includes looking at, quite early on, how those individuals who become involved in organised crime find their way in there, and to look to stop it.
Right, get full! Keep it up, Gaz! Selby!
Graham Cooper spent time in prison in his teens and early 20s. He now works with young people in Salford.
Well done, Clayton. Good lad. Keep going, Clay. Good tackling!
So how do you try to stop the attraction of organised crime?
We are standing up. We are saying stop. Enough's enough. We can't put ourselves physically in front of these sort of people. What we can do is try to give alternatives and different options, like youth clubs, places for them to go, jobs, real jobs. Yeah.
He doesn't believe Salford's gang problem is any different from other UK cities.
The reality is about when they're actually engaged in gangs. At a certain age, it might be too late. Some people choose to become a career criminal. I think the solution is to start early, 12, 13, 14 years of age. We can actually identify traits within young people who are excluded from school, disengaged from pupil referral units. Therefore, they're getting further and further away.
Who needs to be stepping
in? We all need to do it. But I think more importantly in Salford, there are lots of opportunities. There are lots of jobs going out there, but they're not coming to local people.
With Graham's help, this Salford engineering firm is offering apprenticeships to locals from tough backgrounds.
Oh, that's good.
Some,
this is good.
But by no means all, have been in trouble with the police.
First thing I learned about school was how to climb the fence to get out there.
Somebody actually making some differences.
So I used to get into all kinds of trouble, like nicking cars, motorbikes. Got an ASBO when I was younger. Got banned from down Salford.
Were you on a dangerous path?
Yeah, if I would have carried on then I probably would have gone to jail.
They took a massive risk. Like I say, we've got no skills in this sector. We had nothing to offer them, nothing at all.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime.
What's going on in Salford? I'm here because there's been violence that is so shocking.
Yeah.
It's all about money. So they're fighting for patches, people are getting shot, stabbed and stuff like that. But it's all based around money. There's two ways of getting money. You go out and earn it, or you go out and take it. Taking it, and you've got the police on your back all the time. No one wants to live like that. Do I be able to spend the money and relax and enjoy it?
Good lad. That's it, Lord, really. That's one of the best rallies we've had, that. Still that seat carrying.
Graham says the shooting of a child in Salford was a turning point.
I think it's made people very angry. People are
Bro, and they're not taking it easy on them kids on that ping pong table. He put his whole back into that slam. Look at him. Look, go back.
Graham says the shooting of a child in Salford was a turning point.
Yeah. He was really trying to score.
I think it's made people very angry. People are upset. Some people can't believe that's actually happened. No, I can't believe it's happened either.
He says people in Salford haven't turned their back on the police, but they can't do their job for them.
This shite about there's a wall of silence in Salford, not when young kids are getting shot at 7 years of age. There's not a wall of silence, there's a lot of anger. But there's more anger from people like myself about the police saying to us there's a wall of silence. How do you think that makes people like us feel when we're doing the job we're doing? It actually makes you feel like not talking to the police. Because realistically, they've already got that information. Stop having a go at the community.
It's our responsibility as the police service to do everything we can to bring the skills and the powers that we have to investigate that offence. However, if you are a witness or you are somebody who's got information about that murder, I do think you also have the responsibility to work with us so that we can successfully prosecute somebody for that incident.
It sounds amazing, but we've watched several documentaries where we've seen people that work with the police get told on by the police to the person that they're trying to prosecute. So that's not reassuring at all to the general public.
It might seem a world away from Salford streets, but here in the Costa del Sol, Salford is never very far from the thoughts of former armed robber Jason Coughlin.
What do you do now?
Jason was once one of Britain's most wanted men, after breaking out of the dock in court and going on the run. Regrets? He's got more than a few.
I'm 45 years old. I've done 15 and a half years actually in prison. I've got two little girls that have grown up without me around.
Buenos días, Fatima.
Buenos días, Jason. Hi.
Yeah.
Jason says he's gone straight, but he still deals with criminals. He now works with Spanish lawyers, advising expats facing criminal charges.
Buenos días. Muy bien, ¿tú?
Sí. Entonces.
He says it's only now that he realises the cost of a life of crime.
Let me tell you, run you through the cases. Case number one.
For anyone, any young person that's getting themselves involved in this kind of life, now I would say, I wish you could wind the tape on. Wish you could see what's in front of you. I couldn't see it, me, when I was a young kid. It just all seemed like fun and games. And it's all great, and it is. It is. There's no way getting around it. As a young man, it's exciting. But the end result of it isn't exciting and fun and games.
He's still giving me crooked vibes, not honest vibes.
It comes back and it hurts you. It really does hurt you. It catches right up on you. I've struggled with mental health issues. I have. And all of it is because of the weight of the gravity of stuff that catches up on you, of what you've done. That's true.
PTSD going on.
This weekend, more gunshots were fired in Salford. The police claim that they're winning the battle against the gangs rings hollow on these streets. But breaking the cycle of gangs and guns is crucial. Otherwise, another generation will learn the hard way that you can leave the gangs behind, but never the scars of a violent past.
Very interesting stuff out of Salford. TLO, leave a like, comment, I'm gone.